So you might have heard this story before, but humor me. A beautiful maiden is chained to rocks by the sea. She's being hunted by a foul and ferocious sea creature called Cetus. Our hero, whose name is Perseus, comes down on his winged horse called Pegasus. Defeats the evil beast, he frees the maiden from her chains, and off they go to live happily ever after. This is the story of Perseus and Andromeda, depicted in countless paintings over the years and popularly depicted in the Clash of the Titans movie. But something is wrong. In the original, Andromeda's father is the king of Ethiopia, which would make her the princess of Ethiopia. Yes, that Ethiopia, the one in Africa, yes. Which at the time was referred to as the land of Kush, or what we know right now is between the region of Sudan and Ethiopia. But so many paintings depict her as white as milk. You see, Andromeda was one of the most beautiful women in the world, and that's how she got into this predicament in the first place. In the poet Ovid's Metamorphoses, Andromeda is described with the word fusca, referring to the color black or brown. When she asks Perseus what she should wear, he tells her, "White suits dark girls. You look so attractive in white, Andromeda." Andromeda was the earliest victim of whitewashing. Her story was highly popularized during the Renaissance, which was also the beginnings of the transatlantic slave trade. For Renaissance artists, the idea that Andromeda could be both black and beautiful did not make sense. The image of a brave, strong warrior like Perseus rescuing a dark-skinned woman for him to marry, as writer Patricia Yacker-Ekal put it, would have been too much of a trigger and perhaps an inconvenient catalyst for the change that eventually ensued, unquote. So, in order to maintain the new status quo, that black people were inferior not only inside but also outside, Andromeda lost her melanin. And to this day, artists still depict her with white skin. Welcome, baby bats and scaredy cats, to another episode. Today we are going to be talking about the very awkward yet persistent trope of Hollywood turning epic myths from the Mediterranean, the Middle East, North Africa, and the Levant, and casting white people in them. Yes, it's been going on for so long, and I understand that not a lot of you guys are really happy to talk about this, but I have to talk about this today, especially because of the fact that Christopher Nolan's Odyssey is about to come out. This video is probably going to be out after the movie comes out in theaters, so hopefully you'll see it and then you can watch this video, or maybe watch this video first. But I really wanted to talk about this. It's something that I have noticed for a very, very long time, and I think that we need to talk about it. And I hear you with those greasy little fingers typing down on the keyboard. It's not that serious. It is that serious, babe. Yes, everything is that serious. Yes, okay? In these times, everything is that serious, okay? Because we're going to talk about this, how it has real-world consequences, and how this actually affects and changes how millions of people remember and account history, how it minimizes the contributions of people from Africa, Asia, the Middle East, the Mediterranean, and how all of that ties into white supremacist culture to this day. Yes, let's get into it. Okay, so let's set the stage. For years, Hollywood has made several big-budget sword and sandal epics. That's what they call them, sword and sandals. These are movies that were extremely popular in the 1950s and 60s that focused on stories of mythology, history, and biblical epics. Movies like Samson and Delilah, Covatus, The Robe, The Ten Commandments, which my mom used to make us watch every Easter, Ben-Hur, Spartacus, and Cleopatra. And if you look at the cast, you'll notice a pattern. Yeah, there's a very clear pattern of who is the main character and who plays the slave, the soldier, or the commoner in the background. In Gods of Egypt from 2016, set in a mythical Nile Valley, your leads are Gerard Butler, Nicolás Coster-Waldau, Brenton Thwaites, Geoffrey Rush as Ra, the Egyptian god, and also the immaculate, the holy Chadwick Boseman, who plays Toph, who is a minor character. In Exodus Gods and Kings from 2014, which is literally about the liberation of Semitic slaves from Egypt, Moses is Christian Bale, yes, and Ramses II, hold for it, the greatest pharaoh in the New Kingdom is Joel Edgerton, yes, an Australian man. Yeah, make it make sense. In the most bronzer I have ever seen a man, including this one, the excuse is always the same. We cast the best actor for the role, or it's just based on a myth. It's not a documentary. And sure, Gods of Egypt is highly fictionalized, so accuracy is relative, but here's the thing. Myths are sacred stories from specific places and cultures. When you take a story from North Africa or the Levant and drain the melanin from it, you're not being colorblind, you're being color erasive. Now, when people think of Ramses or the god Horus, they think of two white dudes with bad tans. Now that's their image of the ancient world. It gives the impression that only the British or those who look like them are the main characters in history, and everybody else is just slave. Let's start with the most egregious and ridiculous example, Gods of Egypt. This movie costs $140 million, and the director, Alex Proyas, who you might know from The Crow, said, "My movie is not intended to be history. It's inspired by myth, a fantasy film, a work of the imagination. Therefore, under the rules of creative license and artistic freedom of expression, I cast the actors I considered right for the roles." And this is a common excuse, creative license or artistic freedom, but when that same thing is used to include actors of color, like in The Rings of Power or The Force Awakens, people lose their ever-loving minds. And this is a double standard, right? It's okay to use creative license to exclude people, but it's not okay to include creative license to include people. The other excuse is that it's not economically feasible to cast anyone else besides white people. Ridley Scott infamously said about his film Exodus, when people were criticizing his casting, quote, "I can't mount a film of this budget where I have to rely on tax rebates in Spain and say that my lead actor is Muhammed so-and-so from such and such. I'm just not going to get it financed. So the question doesn't even come up." The way in which films are financed is based on who is in the movie. And because white people are casted the most, they are also the most profitable. That's how that works. That's why Jared Leto keeps getting casted in movies, which is like a whole other video. So like a snake eating its own tail, white people are casted in movies because they make money from being casted in other movies because they've been casted in other movies before. This creates a closed loop of which actors of color can't permeate. If only white people get casted because white people are the most profitable, then when can we cast a crew of color? And honestly, Scott is a coward. He was so desperate to get that movie made that he did what he felt he had to do, which was make a movie about Egypt with Sigourney Weaver and Batman, okay? He could have picked a major brown, black, Middle Eastern actor, but he was a coward. He maintained the status quo. And it didn't even work because the movie bombed spectacularly. Maybe if he had hired Muhammed so-and-so from such and such, maybe it would have been actually more successful. But see, here's the subtle poison. Most Western viewers think they know what ancient Egypt looked like. We've been trained to see Egypt as an exotic place for Europeans in eyeliner and bronzer. The real Egypt was Afro-Asiatic. It was a crossroads of Nubia, the Levant, and the Sahara. But by casting white actors, the movie sends a visual message. Great civilizations are all white. A kid watching Gods of Egypt doesn't think, "Oh yeah, totally, this is artistic license." They internalize that intelligence, power, and godhood all have British accents. So when it comes to the real world, that kid goes out believing that he's inferior. He knows he's inferior because he's seen it. You think black people made the pyramids? No. The images that he has of black people are of slaves, gangsters, and possibly Black Panther, the one superhero. Now let's talk about Exodus, Gods and King, and Noah. These are Judeo-Christian stories. They take place in Canaan and Egypt, and yet Russell Crowe plays Noah. Yes, that's an Australian man. Yes, and Exodus is worse because it's historically adjacent. This film actually hired a linguist and consultant for ancient Hebrew, but then cast Sigourney Weaver as the Egyptian Queen Tuya. Tuya was the wife of Seti I. She was dark-haired, dark-eyed, an Egyptian noblewoman. Weaver is a legend, of course, but she looks nothing like Tuya. She looks like she's on her way to Pilates. Like, no shade. Girl, the shade of it all. The effect here is called white normalcy. It's the idea that white bodies are the default human being, and anyone else is an exception to whiteness. When you watch these movies, the only time that you see a black or brown person is as a slave, a servant, or a soldier in the background. The leaders are white. The heroes are white. The love interests are white. The prophets are white. The scholar Edward W. Said most notably points this out in his seminal work, Orientalism, that even when we call this region is based on white normalcy. The reason we call it the Middle East is because Europe is used as the center of the world, and to its Near East are countries like Turkey or Greece, to its Middle East are countries like Iraq and Iran, and to its Far East are countries like China or Japan. We've been taught to view the world with a European bias our whole lives, and we never question it. And that seeps into the real world. It's easier for people to imagine that aliens built the pyramids than it is to believe that they were constructed by Nubian people in Africa. Upon excavating statues, which were often still bearing traces of their original vibrant paint, Victorian archaeologists and historians frequently engaged in scrubbing away and bleaching the remaining polychromy? Often destroying fine details of the carving in the process. This act of physical erasure was deeply intertwined with a racist ideology that equated white marble with purity and Western civilization. Influential figures like the 18th century art historian Johann Wilhelm, in his analysis and history of ancient Greek and Roman art in his work, The History of Ancient Art from 1764, as white is the color which reflects the greatest number of rays of light, and consequently is the most easily perceived, a beautiful body will, accordingly, be the more beautiful the whiter it is. For them, the bare bleached marble signified a civilization capable of artistic discipline and purity, standing in stark contrast to the wild and primitive non-Western cultures they associated with painted sculptures and bright colors. By stripping the statues of their color, they not only denied the ancient world its true vibrancy, but also eliminated uncomfortable evidence that some statues had originally been depicting non-white people, thus molding the past to fit a narrative of Western white supremacy. Which brings us to the elephant in the room, Christopher Nolan's upcoming The Odyssey. Nolan is an intelligent, talented mega director known for his super cerebral and intellectual films, so I had high hopes that they would try to make The Odyssey as accurate as they possibly could. But then I saw the pictures for the casting and the costumes, and it didn't look good. The actors were wearing bland colors of blacks, browns, tans, instead of the vibrant hue that's actually in the Mediterranean. And when the cast list dropped, babe, Matt Damon, Tom Holland, and Hathaway, Robert Pattinson? Come on, girl. Not a single actual Mediterranean actor was included in the main cast. We had an Exodus, Gods and Kings situation all over again. Nothing was learned. The Odyssey is set in the Aegean, yes, but it passes through Egypt, North Africa, and Turkey. Homer's Greeks were Mediterranean people. They had olive skin, dark hair, and yes, some had blonde hair, but they were a highly diverse group within their own region. The tendency is for academics to believe that Homer belongs more in the club of Western scholars than with people in the region like Ptahhotep, an Egyptian philosopher, or Enheduanna, a Sumerian poet. They place Homer alongside Western figures like William Shakespeare and Mark Twain. The point is to distance Homer from his place in the Near East and put him more over in European literary tradition. This, as Said wrote, had more to do with Orientalism than accurately understanding the region, its cultures, and its traditions. The problem isn't Matt Damon is a bad actor. I'm sure he's good in something. The problem is that when you hire an all-star cast of white Anglo actors to play the journey home, you're telling the audience the Mediterranean, the ancient world, was a white playground. What also came out of the casting news was that Lupita Nyong'o is reportedly playing Helen of Troy, and the racist came out of the woodwork.
When the Odyssey is massively successful, I want you guys to remember every single creator who went after Lupita Nyong'o for essentially a cameo in this film, and the latest example is someone with almost 2 million subscribers, and that is John Solo. John is over here as well, and his entire thing, right, is mythology and folklore. You sell yourself as an expert in Greek mythology, but spend 30 seconds of your video talking about the protagonist of the story, Matt Damon as Odysseus. We're going to spend the majority of the film with Tom Holland's Telemachus and Matt Damon's Odysseus. Two white dudes playing Greeks. These are the protagonists. Helen is an afterthought. You also know that to some extent and try to pivot and say, well, she's playing Clytemnestra too, so that's a big deal. Clytemnestra is said 4 times in the entirety of the Odyssey. The word Helen is used 22 times in the entirety of the Odyssey, and half of them are in one book. If you want to talk about historical accuracy, you brush over Matt Damon. The thumbnail is Lupita Nyong'o. You spend the majority of the time talking about her and Zendaya.
If at any point in that description you imagined Zendaya, then I've got to recommend you seek medical attention because you might be concussed. I displayed a wider range of emotions during this morning's bowel movement than Zendaya has across her entire career. Now, the most controversial casting of them all is no doubt Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy. And you can probably guess why.
Fortunately, by the way, you're too stupid to know how to pronounce the word Zendaya, but we're supposed to listen to a single thing you have to say about this film. Every single one of these people is going to watch this film. This film is going to get universal acclaim. It's going to be very successful, and they will all realize the world does not give a fuck about their tiny little echo chamber of hatred. You want to understand that some right-wing fuck does not actually care about historical accuracy in film? Ask them what they think about The Mummy from 1999, which is a fun film, but let's take a look at the cast. You want to know who is playing real Egyptian pharaoh Seti I? Israeli-American actor named Haran Ipale. You want to know who is playing Anaxunamun? Venezuelan actor named Patricia Velasquez. Who's playing Benny, who's a bunch of very odd racist tropes all kind of rolled into one. American actor Kevin O'Connor. I don't know who is playing Imhotep. An Afrikaner from South Africa whose family was Dutch and German, Arnold Vosloo, who also got to play a Turkish terrorist in 24. Who was playing iconic Arabic character Ardeth Bey, who was the leader of the Magi, who were historically a Nubian group of bodyguards that were all black. I know we're really concerned with historical accuracy. He was played by an Israeli, of course, because why wouldn't he be? As with the Egyptian Dr. Terrence Bey, played by an Egyptian, well, he was played by Indian-American Eric Avari. The point is, nobody makes a singular peep, right, when it's an Arab role that's based in history, or whether they're Turkish or Persian, whatever it might be. Nobody seems to care. It can be an American, it can be an Israeli, doesn't matter, right? So Odysseus himself, all you historical accuracy people will not focus on that, right, when he's leading the film and looks absolutely nothing like anyone that would be around at the time. Lupita Nyong'o shows up for 5 minutes and it's on thumbnails everywhere. It is tired, it is lazy, you are a dumb human being.
The outcry was that Lupita, a beautiful woman, would be playing Helen of Troy. A beautiful woman. Wow. But that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was that she was black. Despite the fact that Matt Damon is of Scottish and Finnish descent, and Hathaway is of French descent, the last time I checked, those places were not near the Mediterranean. Lupita, who is of Kenyan descent, kind of makes sense to me. I could imagine a Kenyan getting into the Middle East. But from years and years of movies and media, the collective consciousness believes that they know what the ancient world looks like, and that it was blonde, and it was pale, and it was British. The real history The Bronze Age Mediterranean was a beautiful mess of Phoenicians, Egyptians, Nubians, Minoans, and Mycenaeans, all trading, fighting, and yes, marrying each other, because the ancient world predates the concept and the idea of race, which wasn't even invented until after the 15th century. Nolan's cast, as it stands, looks more like downtown Boston or London than the ancient Mediterranean. We see this even in fantasy films like Dune. Dune is arguably based on a fantasy sci-fi version of the Middle East and the Levant, but the colors are washed out, using, again, a basis of tans, browns, and blacks for wardrobe and scenery, despite the fact that, in reality, this region is full of color and vibrancy. It is seen by the West as being devoid of all color.
Welcome, my friend. Welcome, my friend.
God damn, it's hot. I'm sweating like R. Kelly in Disneyland.
In Dune, it's even hard to distinguish aesthetically from the homes of the Fremen and the home of Duke Leto's duchy. Each place is barren, minimalist, and monochrome. Villeneuve is guilty of this not only in Dune, but also in his other films like Cicero, where all of Mexico was depicted as having a warm orange filter over the entire country.
So if you've been in New York these past few days, you probably noticed that the sky has turned this orangey yellowish color. And now some people are asking, who put the Mexico filter on New York City? Now, if the way that New York looks right now reminds you of how countries like Mexico are depicted in American films, you're definitely not alone. So one of the first times we see this color grading used is in the movie Traffic, which is about the illegal drug trade, where director Steven Soderbergh uses this yellowish filter to depict Mexico. From there, we've seen it used in many movies and TV shows like Extraction, Black Hawk Down, and very notably Breaking Bad. And many color psychologists have noted that just like the air in New York City right now, using these colors depicts these countries as toxic, polluted, and generally dangerous. On top of this color filter, which usually has a very high contrast, makes the features of darker skinned actors harder to make out, while accentuating the features of lighter skinned and white actors. And because this filter is commonly used in movies about crime or war, what you'll end up with are scenes where a white protagonist kills many characters of color, and you'll hardly be able to even make out the facial expressions of these black and brown characters, thus further dehumanizing them. But have you noticed this, and did you know the history behind it? Let me know in the comments and follow for more.
These images, fantasy or not, affect the way that we see the real world. We depict the past and other countries not based on how they actually are, but what we think they should be. I want you to understand this means more beyond just movie bad. When Gal Gadot, an Israeli white passing woman, was cast as Cleopatra in a movie that may or may not ever be coming out, historians didn't like it. Cleopatra was Macedonian Greek, but she was born in Egypt and was the last pharaoh of Egypt. The debate isn't about her race per se, but about the erasure of African agency. Casting a white actress centers whiteness. When a child looks at a movie about their history, their people, and it looks nothing like them, they ask themselves, why can't any of the heroes look like me? Representation is not vanity. It's about historical and cultural agency. It tells a kid in Cairo or the Bronx that their ancestors were the gods, the leaders, the thinkers, not just background extras. The solution isn't only Egyptian actors can play Egyptians. That's not the solution. The solution is proportional realism. If you're making Gods of Egypt, hire Egyptian actors. Like, hot take. If you're making the Odyssey, hire Greek actors, Turkish, Lebanese, and North African actors. They exist. They're out there. The excuse of we can't find them is a total lie. So are movies like Gods of Egypt and Nolan's upcoming Odyssey harmful? Yes. Yeah. They skew our perception of reality and inform unconscious bias. And they're also lazy. And laziness, repeated for 100 years, becomes a harmful, dangerous lie. The ancient world was not black and white. It was brown, tan, olive, amber, blue, red, green, yellow, and everything in between. And when we whitewash it, we steal credit from the actual Egyptians who built the pyramids, the actual Phoenicians who sailed the Atlantic, and the actual Nubians who ruled the Nile. We're also robbing ourselves of having a more rich and complete understanding of the world around us and our history. So the next time that you watch a trailer and you see a Scottish guy in the Middle East, assuming that he's wearing SPF 1000, ask yourself this question: who is this story for? And more importantly, who is missing? And what story are they trying to tell about who's included or who's not included? So let me know, will you be watching the Odyssey or will you be skipping it? I would love to know. Me, myself, I'm going to go see it because I need to be part of the discourse and I need to form an opinion. If I make this video, I have to then watch what this video is about. That's like research, you know? Even though I didn't even get to the fact that Anne Hathaway and Tom Holland, who are playing mother and son, are only 13 years apart from each other.
Ugh. Brother, ugh. What's that? What's that, brother?
We didn't even get into that, okay? But thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you appreciated this. It would mean the world to me if you gave it a like, commented down below, if you subscribed, if you feel so moved, motivated, inspired to do. And also if you would check out my Patreon page, where every little amount that you pledge to that means the world to me. It just helps me do this thing that I really like. So thank you so much. I hope to catch you in the next one. But remember, the monsters wait.
And
Be kind to yourself. Take care of your neighbors. Because remember, the monsters, they're always closer than you think. Okay. See you in the next one. Bye. Bye, 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 bye. Bye. Aliens.